I never took the path most traveled. I always found another way. If you take the average path to do things and it doesn't work out for you, you have a choice at that point. You can quit and move on to something else, or if you really truly are passionate about what you're doing, you can find another way.
By law students.
For past, present, and future law students.
Bringing you information to help your career.
This is The Law School Show with Rishi
and Chris. Nintendo.
Microsoft.
Electronic Arts. Rishi, tell me, man, what do all these things have in common?
Our guest today represents the interests of all of these companies and many more video game manufacturers.
Tanya Woods works for the Entertainment Software Association of Canada. What does she do there?
She's the Vice President of Policy and Legal Affairs. Essentially, she ensures that the landscape in Canada is preferable for these companies to grow.
Fantastic conversation.
Hold on. It was a passionate conversation.
It was. Tanya Woods is in line with something, and it's contagious.
Yeah, this is a pure story of when passion meets your ideal career.
Yeah. What else do we talk about?
Well, we talked about the details of working to represent the needs of video game manufacturers, such as the companies that we mentioned earlier.
We talk about having persistence in the face of adversity, in the face of people telling you that maybe this isn't the right thing for you.
And I think that's a theme that carries for the entire conversation about how she created her own opportunities and the importance of thinking outside the box and sometimes doing 3 jobs at the same time to create a full-time job for yourself, because that is exactly what you want to do.
This was a great conversation. It was inspiring. It was informative. Take a listen.
Let's roll it. Here's our conversation with Tanya Woods.
Good morning, everybody. We are here with Tanya Woods from the Entertainment Software Association of Canada. Tanya, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing, Tanya?
Really great. How are you guys doing?
Excellent. The exams are approaching, and I think we're just slowly transitioning into that exam mode now.
But overall, great. Absolutely.
So, can you tell us a bit about yourself without speaking about law?
The epic test for any lawyer. Yeah, I can. So I am an individual that loves art and entertainment and pop culture and traveling and good wine and yummy food. I am from Ottawa. I grew up here in a very small multicultural family, and I have a small family of my own now. I speak a bunch of different languages, and I love meeting cool people and mentoring.
What
Go-getters.
What languages do you speak?
I speak Spanish, French, English, a little bit of Italian, a little bit of Arabic, and I'm attempting to learn Mandarin.
Wow.
Yeah. Mandarin's not going so well. But
How do you go about picking up all of these languages?
I spend a lot of time kind of using school as an excuse to travel and studying in different countries. You meet all kinds of neat people, and I was just really interested in their culture and speaking to them and having more kind of in-depth discussions. And there's only so far you can get when English isn't someone's mother tongue. So I thought to put myself in their shoes and try and learn some of their languages. So.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Very unique. I like that. So let's hear about your law school experience. So you're pretty academically inclined, and so sort of unpack for us, your academic experience in law. Yeah, that'd be great.
Sure. So I did my LSAT, but that was more for fun. I never really wanted to start my legal studies in Canada. I wanted to go to England. Go back to the school as an excuse to travel sort of thought. And so I went to the UK and I started studying there at the London School of Economics. Then I realized that I needed to convert my degree, so I came back to Canada and went to the University of Ottawa and converted my degree. I got hooked on technology law and really enjoyed law school a lot. And while I was articling at a cover board, I decided to do a master's in law at Ottawa U. focusing on copyright issues because it kind of lined up with what I was doing at work. And then that wasn't enough, and I kept going, and I did another master's in the States, in D.C. at the Washington College of Law. And I was thinking more about international issues, trade, globalization, intellectual property. And I thought I wouldn't be doing myself any favors staying in Canada, so I went there.
Oh, and so for technology, was it something that you were always interested in, or that kind of interest sparked once you got to Ottawa?
No, I remember, like in the early 80s having this massive computer in my room. It was it felt to me at the time like it was the size of my bed. And I remember, typing DOS coding out and watching things happen, and I got totally hooked on
CD
technology. And like C// runs, things like that. I can't remember. Now, thank God I don't have to do it anymore. That'd be another language I could say I knew, but I don't know. But no, it's something that I've always been completely fascinated with. So I just kept going, and I realized, people are doing all kinds of cool stuff with technology, but that cool stuff was kind of scary at the same time, and I was really curious about how the law applied to that and how we would manage the scary stuff with the law and how we could still encourage people to innovate and invent really cool things and change the world the way we know it now. So
at that point, were you cognizant at all of the market? Were you thinking to yourself, yeah, there's definitely going to be some opportunity here in technology and law?
I was lying to myself at the time. So I did a lot of networking throughout law school with lawyers, just kind of having sit-down coffee breaks with them and trying to figure out, could I have a career in this? Mm-hmm. And one of the early things I realized with intellectual property was really interesting, and it fit really well with the things I was interested in as an area of practice. And I really love movies and music, and I'm a big art lover. So I started my conversations with copyright, and every practitioner I met was like, no, you will have no career in copyright. You could never be just a copyright lawyer. You will perish and die and be poor and live in an alleyway. They just had no hope to offer me. It was awful. And I just ignored them. I lied to myself. I was like, well, good thing they're not doing it because it means I can. And sure enough, my persistence and chosen ignorance has led me kind of to where I am now, which is pretty good. So I was just really hopeful and moving on a whim, but it worked.
So just focusing on your law school career a bit, is there anything you would have done differently?
I was thinking about that the other day. I chose all my courses because there were things I wanted to do. So I didn't do family law. I didn't do tax law. I didn't even do basic business law. And the only one I've ever kind of thought twice about and regretted not doing is tax, because I sit there now and I'm like, geez, I wish I knew how to put my money away in smart places. I have no idea. And now I hire accountants and stuff, and they kind of help me with it. But yeah, tax is the only one that I kind of wish I would have done just because it's practical, I think.
What about from a social standpoint?
What are you thinking? Should I have socialized more?
Yeah, well, one common theme we hear from lawyers is that I wish I would have been less focused on my grades and more focused on building my social network, because those are the relationships that are benefiting me the most now, and the grades don't mean anything, for example.
Yeah, so I realized really early on that networking is everything. I mean, I grew up in Ottawa. It's a pretty small town for all intents and purposes. I mean, there are smaller, of course, but it's very common when I go out that I bump into someone I know every time I'm out. And that's because I'm from here, and that's just sort of how it works. And I just realized, the more people that you know and that know you, the better. Mm-hmm. I spent too many hours in the library, yes, but I actually really enjoyed them. Mm-hmm. I'm a huge geek, so I felt safe surrounded by books and writing papers and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I did make it a point throughout my studies, right from day one, to go talk to lawyers, to talk to people, to network, to see what are the people that I want to help, what are they actually even doing? And in London when I was there, I spent time kind of networking with artists and creators and gallery owners and just talking to them, because I'm very practically minded. So I'm pretty happy with the way that I chose to do things, but there are days when you're sitting in an office and you're like, geez, I'd like to get out and socialize. I mean, it happens now, right? But you can.
What are some ways that you maintain your network right now? I think one thing we struggle with as law students is sometimes you can make that first connection, whether it's a phone call or a coffee, but then maintaining it is a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you suggest?
That's such a good question, because it is a little difficult. Like, I mean, Facebook doesn't count, right? Like, I mean, there's a level of it kind of does, but it really doesn't professionally.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn only goes so far. A mentor of mine had a really wicked tip when I was sort of talking to her about this sort of thing. And you meet all these people, and in my case, they're all over the world, and I like them, and they're friends, and in some cases we've done business together, and I know I can call them anytime. I'll send out, the odd annual note just saying like, hey, hope you're well, how's it going? But on a daily basis, the suggestion that I got was to put 10 people's names on a napkin, and within the next 2 days, reach out to them. But it's strategic. Like, we all get really, really busy, and we don't have a lot of time to socialize per se. But if you sit down and kind of think about the 10 people you might want to be in touch with for any given reason, you can get it done pretty easily, even if it's just a fast note, just to say like, hey, I hope you're well. We should grab coffee or something. Like, I think it's really good. But writing them down, keeping the list, right beside your keyboard is key, because you won't forget to do it then. Yeah.
Well, no, that's really great advice. So then after your undergrad, you moved to doing master's in your technology. How do you think that has helped you, or if you can share a bit insights about how did the master's program work for you?
So I had a really clear, practical goal with my master's. I had a technology I wanted to develop, but I wanted to understand the need for it more. And I had an area that I decided to specialize in, and the way to do that, apart from getting 10 years of experience in the area, which I couldn't do in a year, was to do a master's, and it was also to network and get out there and, stay competitive. So I was pretty happy with both my masters. They both served different purposes, but facilitated my goals. So I was really happy. I encourage it, but I don't think everybody should do it. I think that they should really have a clear purpose in mind of why you're doing a master's, because otherwise, if you can't think about what's going to be the return on the investment, it can be a bit of a waste.
Yeah. Sorry, did you say you were already working on a technology and you wanted to explore that further?
Yeah. I had come up with a technological solution to a legal problem, and I wanted to see how viable that was going to be, and if it really could address the legal problem that I was thinking about. And so I used my first master's to kind of explore that a little bit more.
How did that turn out?
I'm working for video game companies now. It was, it's still certainly something that could pan out in the future, but it's not the path I chose. So.
All right, nice. So let's outline that path. So from the moment you finish your academic career, you jump into the job market. How did you end up at ESA?
Yeah, so, for me, I always believed that school was great because you could learn stuff, but it was only going to be as vital as you made it while you were learning it. So I've been working pretty actively on copyright since my first year of law school. I basically begged for jobs. I even agreed to take no pay at certain points. They never agreed to that. That was me. But I've been building my work portfolios since pretty much day one because I knew what I wanted. So I spent time working for a copyright collective, and I worked for the government, different groups, doing social property work in Ottawa. So I would hunt them down, cold call them, beg them for work, and generally it panned out in my favor. And then I kept doing papers in school to support, what people were actually doing in their day jobs. And I talked my way into an articling job, spent a good year and a half with the copyright board, which was amazing. I learned a ton of very valuable information on a little known practice area. It's very niche. And then from there, I went to the States, as you know, and while I was in the States, I worked with an artist legal clinic a little bit. And then I came back and I called the government. I said, what do you have going on? I'd love to do copyright work. And that got me into working on legislation and what is now the current Copyright Act. And then from there, I wanted to apply my international stuff, and Foreign Affairs had an opening for trade negotiations in their IP group. So I did a little bit of that, and then from there, I got picked up by a major Canadian telecom company, broadcaster, and I was their health specialist for a few years, and then that led me to this, where I now do a lot more than just copyright. I do immigration and tax and intellectual property, broadly speaking. Copyright protection enforcement is a part of my area of work, but it's certainly not the main part. And so it's that's kind of how I got here.
So for the listeners who don't really know a bit about ESA, can you just provide a very high-level idea of what is ESA and what the mandate is?
Yeah, for sure. So the Entertainment Software Association of Canada is the industry association that represents basically the Canadian video game industry. So we have companies that are in Canada like Disney and Nintendo and Microsoft, and then we've got Ubisoft and Electronic Arts, and there's a number of them, Longtail, Magmic. Some are AAA games, like console games. Some are mobile games, publishers, distributors. So you get an idea of who we represent. A lot of these companies are global, so they have global business. So it's important to know, what's going on around the world in your day job. And basically, my role is to make sure that the business environment in Canada is good and healthy for them.
So are they essentially your clients, and are you speaking with them on a daily basis, getting input as to what their needs are and like what their future sort of job models look like or business models look like, and how that fits into the landscape?
As an association, we are member-based, so it's not really a client relationship, although I certainly look at them as my customers or my members. So I think about, what would make the industry better for them, and what we need in Canada. So, if the government's proposing legislation that could hurt them in any way or disincentivize them to be here in Canada, then we have a chat about it. And sometimes there's daily conversations, sometimes it's weekly, sometimes it's monthly, but certainly we get our mandate from our board and we go from there what we're doing and the way we're going to do it.
So in regards to your day-to-day practice, if you can shine a bit of light on what your ideal day or regular day might look like or a regular week might look like? I know it probably changes on a weekly basis.
I always like a daily basis. My day is always different. I think that's one of the things I actually love most about my job. So, if there's a legislative proposal, for example, in the budget bill or just a straight out proposal the government's made, I'll review it, I'll analyze it, I'll look at it, I'll think about our members' needs and what they've told me before about it or positions they've taken in the past, and then work through it and provide them with some feedback and thoughts on where I think we can go and how we might get there to get them what they need. I might meet with government officials, I might meet with members of parliament, I might meet with, colleagues in Ottawa that have like-minded interests and or shared issues. I do all kinds of stuff like that. I also may talk to someone in the UK or in Australia at a similar kind of organization just to see if they've experienced this sort of problem before, and get a sense of, globally where are things at. I work with my team in Toronto every day. Our head office is in Toronto, and I'm based in Ottawa. So we have regular discussions, and they're briefed on what's going on here, and they tell me kind of what's going on there. And I spend some time surveying what's going on in my industry in Canada globally, because it is constantly evolving and it does take a lot of work to stay on top of everything our members are doing. But yeah, I could be in California, I could be here, I could be in New York, I could be in Toronto, I could be in Montreal at any given point in time. But that's how we stay connected and we keep our dialogues going and we stay on top of stuff. So no day has been a repeat of another yet, and I've been here for about 8 months now.
The diversity of your work sounds extremely exciting. Yeah,
it's cool. For me, I thrive on diversity. I need it, so it's quite fitting for sure.
What other characteristics do you think have contributed toward you being in line with your job?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm very passionate about technology and entertainment, and that's been since I was a kid. I've just marveled at the way movies are made and the way technology's changed, from this big sort of box where you have to put a tape in to this CD thing you can carry around to, the shuffle and the iPod and, all that kind of stuff. So for me, like having a real passion and interest genuinely in the subject matter that I work with has been essential. But I'm also quite persistent. So if I set a goal for myself, I make sure I achieve it. And that can be personal, it can be professional, it can be project-based. If I say, you know, I want to get this done for my members, I do everything I can to get it done. And I think that's really important. It adds a lot of credibility to who you are as a person, too, and they know they can trust you. And I'm also quite customer service oriented, which I think is a skill that a lot of lawyers have. But when you are, it means that you understand the companies you're working for, you understand your client's business, you make their business your business, and that's a really important thing to do as a practitioner early on and throughout your career.
I just want to touch on something you just mentioned about persistency. It seems like a lot of the roles that you ended up with were because you were persistent and you went for them, whether it was to volunteer or just trying to get work. What kind of suggestions would you have for people who are in a similar path where they want to go after their passions but are getting shut down? What kept you going, and what were some techniques that you applied?
Yeah, it's a great question. I never took the path most traveled. I always found another way. So, you know, if you take the average path to do things and it doesn't work out for you, you have a choice at that point. You can quit and move on to something else, or if you really truly are passionate about what you're doing, you can find another way. And if you're willing to think outside the box and be a bit creative and humble at the same time, people are wonderful. Like the passion and the sincerity and the genuineness of someone that really has a goal and a vision, it does come through, and people do notice it. So it just worked. It worked for me almost every time. And when it didn't work, I found something else. So I really encourage people, if they have a goal, think outside the box, figure out what are the different avenues, strategize a little bit, right? And then just go for it.
And it seems like, take for granted might be a little bit strong, but it seems like your interest in technology was always dead clear to you. And it was easy for you to marry that with your career development and with law. But even for me, example, like I have a lot of different interests, and I'm relatively good at a lot of different things as opposed to being really great or really interested in just one thing. So I think there's so much to be said for really taking the time to identify what your interests are and how those align with law.
Absolutely.
And, especially in law school, because that's sort of your last opportunity to really experiment across every different practice area there is.
Yeah, I think so. Two things. Definitely try different things. Try on different hats. Try on different types of careers. I mean, like I spent summers in law firms. I spent time though also. Like I remember I spent my first summer when I came back to Canada. I actually managed 3 different part-time jobs. One was in a collective, one was in a lobbyist organization, and one was with the government. And granted, none conflicted, but I made up a full-time job out of 3 different, very, very, very different environments. I mean, in one moment of a day, I was in the top of a church in a room with another person, and in another moment, I was in a big government space, and another moment, I was in an office building downtown. It was crazy how much there was a contrast between them. But I really started to get a sense of what I liked as a work environment. Mm-hmm. And I mean, subject matter, it was always clear for me, and that's rare. That's not the norm from what I understand. But you will never know if you don't try different things. That said, law is not the be-all, end-all. I mean, I remember when I did my application for law school, I did it because it was the cornerstone of business. It wasn't because I wanted to save the world. And so, I have had very different types of career opportunities in law because of law. But I mean, like the end is not sitting in a firm for the next 40 years. You may get to a firm and 10 years in decide it's not for you anymore and take law and become an entrepreneur and start a company. Like you can really do anything with law. It's a tool, right? And a set of tools that will only make things better in theory. I hope. That's the idea anyway. So, don't lock yourself in, right? But definitely try out different things. Definitely.
Well, it seems like your current role is kind of a mix of that. You have the legal aspect, but you also have the policy aspect to your current role.
Yeah, that's true.
And so you talked briefly about your team. How many people are in ESA that you're working with, or how big is your team?
So in Canada, we have a really small team. We are 4 people that do basically all the work in Canada. There's other organizations around the world. Some are similarly small. Some are quite a bit bigger, 40 or 50 people or more. But we're all relatively specialized in what we do, and we work really well together, so it works. But we're small, so I don't have an admin like I used to have, and I have to do all kinds of stuff. There's no job that's too small or too big, but we get it all done. So, but that requires a willingness to do those sort of things and not get past yourself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What's the best thing about your job?
Oh, geez. It's different every day. I think that's the best thing for me.
What's the best thing about your job today? Oh, it is different every day.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome. I love when I can wake up in Los Angeles and be going off to E3, seeing all the cool games coming out. And I love also waking up and knowing I've got a full day of meetings with government people, and I can go, dig and do some advocacy work. I love that. It's so fun. So fun.
Very cool. What's the worst thing?
It's lame, but I'm just so high on having such a fun job that I don't have a real worst thing. There isn't. I hate doing my expenses because it takes so much time and I'm really slow. But even that is cool. I'm grateful that I have expenses to do, right? I'm a very optimistic kind of positive person, so I don't have a real worst thing.
Do you at least get to keep the points from all the traveling that you do?
It depends. It depends on what card I use.
Do you still have moments, for example, I think even if you have the dream job, there's still those days where you're like, okay, it's still a job. I still have to go here and do this. Do you still feel that way sometimes, or is it just so in line with who you are that you don't even get there?
I think everybody has days where they're tired. After a lot of repetitive travel for a number of weeks, sometimes, I would just love to sleep. But by the same token, I just don't, you kind of just go. I have yet to have a day where I'm geez, my job really sucks. I haven't had it. It's still in the first year. Maybe if we do this in a few more years, maybe I'll be I had a couple of them. They were good. But I really feel if you're in a position where you find that you really don't want to go to work, you got to look at that and why don't you want to go to work? How can you make that be better, right?
Yeah. Well, so because of all your traveling and everything that you do, what is work-life balance to you?
Yeah, that's such a good question. This concept of work-life balance is tricky, right? There's not a set number of hours that I can say I want to be doing this or that. I think when you really love what you do for a job, it's fun. I actually want to do my job. I like doing my job. But at the same time, I also really love my family. I like hanging out with them, and I also really love quiet time to myself and going for a swim or going for a walk or something. So I think as long as I can get a bit of everything in a day, or if not in a day, kind of at some point throughout the week, then I'm pretty happy.
Nice. Sounds like that definitely is a balance. And again, it's just so crucial that I'd be able to identify what actually is important to you, and also what contributes toward having success both inside and outside of work. Because sometimes I think it's a bit of a trial and error process, especially when you're starting out your career.
Oh yeah, it's really hard. And at the beginning of a career, you are at the mercy of your bosses, right? I'm still at the mercy of my board and my boss, and we have bosses, but it's really tricky. So, I really encourage people to try different things out. There's no such thing as the right path for everybody. It's what's right for you, what makes you happy. And honestly, if you're doing something that really makes you happy and that you love to do and you look forward to doing, you will do it well. You'll become great at it, and you'll likely see the subsequent reward financially as well, because you are great. So I really encourage people to just not do things because they think they should or have to, but because they want to.
Yeah, and your story is living proof that the rest of the world really responds to that kind of energy when you're in line with something that you're passionate about. It unfolds. Okay, what's something that you want to improve about your professional skills?
Oh man, I wish I could play.
What are you working on?
Yeah, I'm working on my Dead Rising zombie killing skills right now. I wish I could play video games better so I could actually like spend time playing games with my members and having some kind of legit credibility from a gameplay. No, I'm just teasing. But I do actually wish I could improve the skills, but they're not work related really, kind of, but not. But no, I think I'm in a constant improvement mode. Like nobody's perfect. Like as great as you might be, there's someone better, and there's also someone worse. And we kind of, we're in flux all the time as to where we stand in that continuum. So I take a lot of feedback. I seek feedback from my colleagues, from my members, from my bosses. I'm always asking. So like, hey man, like could I do it better?
Yeah.
Do you think I could be better? Like I want to be better. I'm driven, right? Like that's how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I also read a lot, and I wish I had more time to read. Because when you read books by, successful people or people that, you want to kind of emulate their career, you get ideas and you get insights, and I think reading kind of goes amiss. We get caught, like, reading cases and spending so much time reading textbooks and, notes on the latest change in the law, and that's not fun reading. But if you're actually reading for yourself and to improve yourself, I think you get a lot out of it. So I wish I could do more of that.
Do you have any recommendations?
And I wish I could master Mandarin, damn it. Like, I am trying. I want to go to China and just speak Mandarin. I can't. So
yeah. Well, I wouldn't bet against you learning it. So give it time.
I just need time. Right now it's like Mandarin, Dead Rising, Mandarin, Dead Rising.
Well, what's going to be after Mandarin?
I don't know. I think I might. I've signed up on Code Academy and Khan Academy because I really would sincerely like to learn how to code. So that's that'll be next. I'm sure that'll be next.
Have you tried Oculus Rift?
Yeah, man, that blew my mind.
You have?
Oh,
that was incredible. So I tried Oculus Rift back in March with one of my members' games. It was a spaceship game, it was space aviation.
Yeah.
So I had the Rift on, and I was sitting on a couch in a hotel room. The TV was in front, and there was the kind of the joystick and the accelerator, so I could like move my spaceship faster or slower, and I could move around, and it was wild. Like the Rift, the technology in the Rift is incredible. You really do, like your brain really does think that you're flying a spaceship. And I remember flipping my ship and nearly throwing up because like it was crazy, and I had to kind of stop. I was like, whoa, that was bananas. And it's incredible. Like this is the one sort of point where I am in continuous awe is the cross-sectoral use of video games. Like we're not talking about boys in basements. We're talking about people developing innovative technology that can be used for flight simulation practice, for medical and surgical purposes, for all kinds of things. It's just wild, and the Rift is just an example of that. It's really amazing.
Yeah. What do you think is next in regards to the video gaming console side of things?
Oh my goodness, who knows? I mean, we're seeing all kinds of things right now, and when I started about a year ago, there was a debate of like consoles dead or alive, and then Xbox came out with one, and you start seeing the way that people are using their consoles to play video games, but also to stream Netflix and to go online, and like they've become very multi-purpose in a way. I don't know. I mean, I know what I'd love to see, being like a techie nerd kind of, but I'd love to see like no boxes. I'd love to kind of have like some virtual reality, but like instantaneous. Like I tap this place in the air and this happens, and like I don't know, I think we'll get there. Like the devices are kind of getting bigger again.
Yeah, I'm sure we will with the Kinect and all of those things now.
Oh yeah, Kinect's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any last pieces of parting advice for law students or young lawyers who are just starting their careers off?
It's so tough. I mean, do what you love. Like, and if you don't know what you love, go figure it out. I really think it's important. Like, I mean, law it's a set of tools. You can have a career just using those tools, but you can do so many different things with it, and it's very empowering to have legal knowledge, and it's empowering to share it with others and to be humble and be generous with your time in the community, at work, with colleagues. I mean, it's we're very privileged to be in this profession, very privileged to have even studied this area academically, and people just need to remember that.
Well, beautiful. I think that's a nice place to end it.
Great. Well, thanks, guys. It was really wonderful.
No. Thank you. That was super insightful, and yeah, enjoyed the chat. Take care, Tanya.
Thanks, guys. You too.
This is the Law School Show.